Hey, Evan, I don't know how to open the chat window. Normally, it just automatically pops up on mine. So I'm trying to figure out. Oh, you left. Okay. If there's a possibility for you to just get on for a quick second and tell me how to turn on the chat window, I'd appreciate it.
Right. I can't find it either, but I know Google did a weird update the other day, and it changed a bunch of like icons and stuff. So I don't know if it's somewhere else.
Well, and the icon doesn't even show up on the left-hand side. Do you know how it used to like on the
Yeah, I
very.
know. I was looking for that when I joined a minute ago.
Oh, wow. So you can't find it either. Let
Mm.
me.
I know they
Thank
changed
you.
a lot of icons for like Gmail and stuff, but I haven't seen, I didn't, or I haven't done a Hangout call in a while, so I didn't notice.
Chat box. I'm on my other computer trying to see if I can figure it out. Chat box on Google Hangout. If Hangouts chat only, Hangouts is automatically turned on. Any new chat or Google Talk options selected. Existing Talk users must turn on Hangouts chat in Gmail. Okay, it says we have to turn it on in Gmail. So here we go. We'll see if that
All
works.
right.
Where do
Where
we
would
do
that
it?
be?
Where do we do that?
I'm looking for it. Um, I think that'd be in Gmail settings, but I don't know. Uh, I am confused because there was a chat thing and now there isn't anymore.
For all new domains. No, it's not.
Um, I am so very confused.
Me too. You're a genius, so that makes me feel so much better that you're confused. Nothing personal.
It's okay.
But when somebody smarter than me is confused, it's better.
I know Google did a weird they did a really weird update the other day, and I've only really seen the effects in Gmail and Google Docs, but I haven't seen it in Hangouts. I know they like removed or they changed icons and stuff for some things, but I didn't know they did this. Hello? Oh, okay. Um, I believe you left the call. Oh well, okay. Um,
Can you hear me?
Hello? Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know what I did.
I think you left it.
How did I do that?
Um, if
Uh,
you opened the Hangout, like the little contact Hangout, and clicked on the call, I think it makes you leave,
Oh,
but I don't know.
this is such a problem.
I feel like online companies like Apple and Google are making updates that are less efficient and just more weird.
Amen. Okay.
Like Apple removed the headphone jack for some reason.
Yeah, and I have no idea why they did that.
Apparently you can plug it into the charger as well, but it's like how is having both not efficient? Like
Yeah, I
I
don't,
don't
yeah,
understand.
I don't understand that either. The only thing that just dawned on me, perhaps one less hole for water and substances to get into. I don't know.
Maybe. But then you can just get like a waterproof case that covers it up. Like I have
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
and then there's if Gmail, if they or Google, if they actually removed it for some reason, removed that chat button. I don't know. Like I know a lot of people use it because I know for a fact I'm not the only one who uses it. But yeah, let me do a quick search.
Uh, it looks like it looks like I have to have an admin.
Yeah, I think you're gonna need. Uh, yeah, I
Gee,
think you're gonna need admin.
oh my gosh. Let me enable Google Hangouts.
Thoroughly
Hey,
con.
let me ask you this. How do
Yes, ma'am.
I get to my G Suite?
I think that's just your email, but I don't know your
Is
Gmail.
it? Okay.
I think it's the type of account that you have.
Okay. Well, surely I
Although
could turn it on for just mine, could I not, or no?
maybe I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I don't because I know the school says we have a G Suite because I don't remember how I figured that out, but I know I found that out somehow that all of our accounts are on the G Suite, even though I don't really see a difference between any of the other non G Suite accounts
Uh-huh.
because I have another email that I use and it's the exact same or
Uh-huh.
the Gmail is the exact same and stuff. So I don't know how you fix that. Is there a G Suite? Is there an actual like website for that? Is
That's
it
what I'm
like
trying to figure out. Like,
uh
I don't know. And I'm trying to, I don't know. I'm just,
thoroughly confused? Yeah, I am
yeah,
very
I'm
confused.
thoroughly confused too. And this is pretty crucial for me because, I have a lot of students who like to get on and watch and just type questions to me. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
This literally, you know what I'm going to do real quick because Sharon Beaner answers me very quickly. And so
I'm fine using the call like using the microphone when it's just me and you, but I don't like talking with other people that are in it.
I completely understand. And you're not
But that's
alone
just
on that.
preference. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not alone on that in any way, shape, or form. Because I do an Algebra 2 math lab, and
Mhm.
some of those students don't even know me because I'm not their teacher. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
So their preference is definitely to type questions to me and sometimes even email me, which
mhm.
I'm okay with that as long as I can see the question.
Yeah.
It does propose a problem if I can't see the question.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
I'm texting Sharon Beaner right now. The chat window in Google Hangouts is disabled. Weirdly, and it appears as if I have to have administrator
to
right
open it. Yeah.
to turn it back on. I am in math lab. If you have a suggestion.
Yeah, I know there's a different way to do Hangouts. Like this is the one that this way that you're doing right now, the actual like new tab.
Uh-huh.
That's what English. That's the way I've only seen when I do the math lab. But if you were to actually like do a call straight from the chat window, it like makes a pop-up thing appear, I think. I don't
Yes.
know. I've never done a hangout through the school Gmail, but I know when I did one last night with one of my friends on another one, it made a pop-up menu and the chat was working.
Yes.
But yeah, but this is the only one I've Hangouts is the only, or the Math Lab is the only Hangouts I've seen where it opens up a new tab.
Okay.
I think it's done that every time, but yeah, I don't know because I know when it pops up when it makes a new thing, a new well, when it makes a pop-up thing appear, it actually has the chat menu and everything.
Uh-huh.
But I don't
Well,
know.
it like when you used to arrow over to the left, plus I have to open the Google Hangout from YouTube.
From YouTube.
Yes, because it has to be recorded. So I actually have a
Uh,
YouTube creator thing. And so I don't know if that has something to do with it.
uh, that might.
So
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Looking.
Chat window in Google
Because I
Hangouts.
see this. I see this share screen or screen share
Yes.
button, but that's it. There was also what was it? There was another button there before they removed it. I guess it was like bandwidth or something. Or no, that's at the top. Uh, I don't remember what it was, but it was something else.
Oh. Sharon just okay. Sharon just said it appears to all right. Well, you know what? Since it's just you and I'm just going to go ahead. I've got an email sent off to Landon. Sharon says that he may have turned it off.
All right.
And she also said that it could be my extensions.
I don't have I have no idea what those are. So,
But okay. I'm just going to go ahead and go over our lesson and
all
see.
right,
Hopefully, I can get it figured out before Math Lab 2. But just kind of, I'll know when you quit talking to me that somebody else joined. How's that?
all right,
But for the most part, I guess what I'll do now is just hardly anybody shows up. So I think we're probably good.
all right.
Um, oh, Landon emailed back.
That was fast. I wish I can
Oh,
get people to email me back that quickly.
oh, okay. Working on it now. We'll keep you updated.
I wish I could get people to email me back that quickly.
Yeah. Okay. On the key thing, when you see this little, that thingamabob right there, the squared, when you're working on multiplying binomials and polynomials, really is to remember that, okay, I'm not going to just distribute and apply that because of the plus sign. Because, you're like, well, Miss Sparks in last chapter, something like this, I could just square both terms.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, he said check it now. I wonder if I have to restart the call.
All right.
Let's see.
I'm gonna leave it so you can restart it.
Okay. You know what
All
I'm
right.
going to have to do?
It's
You know
there.
what I'm going to have to do on this? I think if I do have to restart
It's
the
there now.
call, huh?
It's there now for me.
It is?
Uh-huh.
I wonder if I log off and log back on, it'll work.
Maybe.
Okay. Uh, I wonder. Let's see. How did I leave it and come back before? Huh.
There's a hangout. There's a hangout button. I think
Yeah.
we'll call it the
If
top.
I do that though, as the starter, I think what I'm going to have to do is create a whole new link and end it.
Uh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Just I
Okay.
don't know.
You know what? I'm going to go through a couple of these, and if you don't, would you mind just working with me on after I go through a couple of these examples? Would you mind working with me on the Google Hangout for a minute?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Well, let me just go through a couple of these examples and finish what we were doing. And can you see that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Your screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay. Well, like last chapter, remember when we had something that looked like an animal that looked like this and we applied that squared to both things inside? So it would just be like 9x squared and that would be your solution.
All right.
You remember that? So on this one, though, because of that wicked plus sign in the middle, it changes the whole thing. So now
Okay.
what you need to do is technically write this.
Okay, let me get out a sheet of paper.
So
Okay.
all right, sorry. Okay, so when you see that squared, it actually is meaning square that whole binomial, which then applies to what we were learning yesterday, where you have to distribute everything. Were you one of my box people or my distributive people?
Distributive. I'm not very good at it, but that's what I do.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. You get better with practice,
Mm-hmm.
Another way to think, I know I did that whole FOIL thing with you guys, but just another way to think about it is, okay, I'm going to look at this number or letter, whichever the case may be, and I'm going to apply it to everything in that second
All right.
parenthesis. So I've got x squared plus 3x, because if I multiply x times x, I get x squared. And if I multiply x times 3, I get 3x.
All right.
So now I'm going to work on so I'm all done with that one. So now I'm going to work on the 3, and I'm going to add it to x. I'm going to get 3x, and then 3 times 3 is 9. So now I'll combine like terms, and I've got that. Okay?
All right.
So something kind of sweet about this particular one is you'll notice that I've technically squared that first term, that x squared. So that's kind of a no-brainer. And then that last term, 3, I've squared that, which is 9, which most students at first glance are going to say, oh, when I look at x plus 3 squared, that's going to be x squared plus 9. Well, you're only halfway right. You've got that middle term that you're missing if you look at it like that. And
Right.
when you look at it like that, what you have to realize is you're multiplying that last term, 3, times the coefficient of the first term, which in this case is 1, so you have 3. And then you're doing that twice and adding them together. So that's going to give you 6. So when there's no leading coefficient, it's pretty easy, because what you're going to do is say, I'm not only going to multiply 3, but I'm going to add 3 and put an x behind it. Okay? So I've got x squared plus 3 is 6. So 6x plus 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? That's kind of one way to look at it. Let's apply that same thought, because if you'll, in the text and probably on the video, what he talked about is he did something like he wrote 2ab, which means twice AB, which means twice this, the coefficient of this, and twice the coefficient of that. Not that 2, but so those are all kind of big words. So let's just apply it to real numbers.
All right.
Okay. So we're going to square. Now we're going to kind of use that same premise and not FOIL it. All right. Let's look at that first thing. Let's square that. What's 2 squared?
2 squared is 4.
And what's x squared?
X to the second.
Yeah, x squared. Yeah. That was kind of like, oh, okay. All right. Now,
kind of just threw it at me. I don't, what? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That final term, the constant, we're going to fill that in next. So we're going to, what's 1 squared?
1 squared is 1.
Yes. So now we've got that. We know that the answer to a squared binomial is a trinomial. And that means there's going to be 3 separate terms. And we've got our first and we've got our last. So we're missing that middle one. Well, that middle one is going to be 2 times, 2x times 1.
Okay.
And then that whole thing is going to be doubled. What's 2x times 1?
2x times 1. 2x.
And then 2x times 2 is?
4x to the square. 4x
Yep.
squared.
Well, actually, all you're going to do is I'm glad that you said that. All you're going to do is multiply 2 times 2x.
All right.
So you're going to have 4x, and that's it. Because you're just multiplying 2 times 2x. I don't know. Does that kind of clear as mud?
It makes sense a little bit.
Yeah. Let's try another one. Because the more you do, the more it'll kind of make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I wish some of these didn't have coefficients on that first term. That makes it a little easier to understand. But let's look at that next one. Okay, so what's 4x squared?
Um, 4x squared?
Yes.
16x to the 4th.
Well, I'm sorry. I meant to say it like this. I said it poorly. 4x squared, like that. So you'll apply that squared to both things. So it would be 16x squared. And then negative y times negative y, which is that final term, is going to be a positive y squared. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
Are you trying to draw or write something on the screen?
Yeah, is it not writing?
Nothing's showing up.
Oh, I hate that.
The screen hasn't moved in or the screen, nothing has changed in like 3 minutes. That's what I was wondering.
Oh, bless your heart.
Like it sounded like you were writing, but I couldn't tell.
Oh, thank you for letting me know. I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
Why? I wonder why. Okay. Huh. Craziness. There we go. Let's try this.
There we go.
All right. Tell me now. I'm going to start over. Can you see me erasing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This will probably help.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go back and do this 2x plus 1. Okay. So what I'm looking at is, I'm going to say this again. A binomial has 2 terms in it. Okay. So that would be the 2x, if Miss Sparks can write, and the 1. That's the 2 terms. And when you multiply a binomial, typically, it's going to come out with 3 terms or a trinomial. Okay?
All right.
And the first term that we'll get when it's a square, find the product. And when it's a square like that, did you get to see this one?
X plus 3.
Yes. Where it was written out like that. Did you get to see that one?
I think I did.
Okay. Because that was number 1. And should I rewrite it?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see everything on the screen, so it's fine.
Okay. So on that, you want to remember that you're foiling everything.
Right.
So,
and that's the everything multiplies by pretty much everything, right?
Yes, so we would do x squared, and so you're multiplying this times everything over there. So that's going to be plus 3x, and then And then now we finished that one. So now we're going to multiply 3 times everything over there, which that's going to be 3x and then plus 9. And then your final thing that you do is add like terms, which the only 2 like terms are these 2. So that's going to give me x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, so the unique thing about this one, when you look at that, is the first thing that you have is the square of this, whereas a lot of students would have just looked at this and said, oh, that's x squared plus 9. But it's a little more than that, because you have to take in consideration that you're going to multiply that last term and multiply the first term together and then double it. So let's try that second one with that premise in mind. That middle term is going to be the addition of the 2 multiplied ones.
All right.
Okay. So we'll square that first term. So 2x squared is going to be 4x squared. That's this term squared. And now let's scoot all the way to the end and get our constant handled. So 1 squared is 1. And now to complete this middle term, this piece that goes right here that makes our trinomial, what that is 2x times 1 plus 2x times 1. So that's 2x plus 2x. So that's 4x. So this middle term is going to be 4x. So basically what you're doing is multiplying the first and last term together and then doubling that. Okay?
All right.
So that's the answer for number 2. Now let's do number 3. Applying that same principle. And you're really, really good at mental math. So
Thank you.
So I feel like this is going to be an area you're going to be strong in, as long as you remember that like 90% of the time, unless we're going to deal with the exception at the second part of this, 90% of the time, that a binomial, when it's multiplied by another binomial, even when it's a square, you're going to get a trinomial, which means there's going to be 3 specific terms. So let's get our first term on number 3 by squaring 4x. So 4 squared is 16. And then x squared is x squared. And now we're going to square negative y. Negative y squared is a positive y squared. Are you still seeing the screen okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now what we're going to do is say 2 times 4x times negative y. So now we're going to say 2 times 4 is 8. And 8 times x is 8x. And 8x times a negative y is going to give me a negative 8xy. So that makes that middle term here.
All right.
Is that making any more sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Just takes practice doing a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now this last one, the very first thing that we're going to do is square that first term. So we've got 3 squared, which is
3 squared is 9.
good job. And m squared is that's that
squared.
trick question. And then now we finished that one. We're going to skip the middle term for now and go to that end. And n squared, that other trick question, is n squared.
Mm-hmm.
And now for the middle term, we're going to say, I'm sorry? 2. Do you want me to wait?
No, sorry, it's fine.
Oh, okay. We're going to say 2 times 3m times n. So you're saying double the first term times the last term. So 2 times 3m is 6m, and 6m times n is 6mn. So that's going to be a positive 6mn. How was that?
That makes sense.
It does? Okay. So just remembering that the automatic default by most students is when they're going to look at something like this, they're going to square the x squared and they're going to square the x and square the 3. But the big no-no is to leave out that middle term. And that middle term is going to be the twice the product of the first and last term in the binomial. So that's the big thing that students have a tendency to leave out. They seem to get that first one and that last one, but we got to remember that usually the square of a binomial is going to give you, and I keep emphasizing that usually because we're getting ready to deal with the exception. You knew there would be more fun to come, right?
Yay.
Let's see. I'm sure my book has a tendency. Now, can you see my screen or what's it look like? Let me go back and see what it looks like. No, it's ugly. It didn't switch. Why does it not switch?
I don't know.
It's frustrating me today. Okay. All right. The difference when I keep talking about usually it does this and usually it does that. This is the difference. And it's called the sum and difference pattern. And what that means is if you'll look hang on. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. Okay. Can you see me writing here a little?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Notice, I didn't write very much yet, but notice up here on this, we've got A plus B. which looks almost identical except for the middle operation. The second one, we have a minus b. And when this happens, it's actually the one the students normally, you know how earlier I was talking about if a student sees this, they will typically write x squared plus 9, and they'll leave out that middle term. Remember I talked about that? And the real answer to that above thing is x squared plus 6x plus 9. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
This is when you can leave out that middle term. Because when you have a plus here and a minus here, all you need to remember is that a positive 3 and a negative 3 add up to be 9. But let me prove this by foiling that particular problem. If I had x plus 3 times x minus 3, I would have x squared plus, and if I'm multiplying this all the way out, minus 3x, and then I multiplied that, I'd have a positive 3x, and then 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Look what happens to these middle terms. I have a minus 3x and a positive 3x, so they cancel each other out. So this is called the sum and difference of two squares.
All right.
So that's the one exception. Remember, I said it most of the time when you multiply binomials together, you will get a trinomial. This right here is the exception. When the first term in each of the binomials is exactly the same, and the second term in each of the binomials, which is the 3 here, is exactly the same, but the operation in the middle is different, meaning that one is an addition and the other is subtraction. So you can kind of see here in this particular example, find the product, t plus 5 times t minus 5. The first term is exactly the same. The last term is exactly the same, but the operation is different. So there's this shortcut you can use. You can actually square the first term and you can square the last term. And you don't have to think about that middle term because it's going to vanish because the operations are different. Okay?
All right.
So that is the difference between what we were doing before, which was a perfect square of a binomial where you have to add to get that middle term. This one you don't. When all these will be the easy ones, 5, 6, 7. All you're going to do is square that first term. So number 5, what is x squared? That's that trick question I keep asking you.
X squared is x squared.
That's right. Okay. Now, what's a positive 10 times a negative 10?
Negative 100.
Negative 100. So that's the answer to that one.
Okay.
So the good news on that one is you don't have to worry about that middle term.
All right.
All right. Let's do number 6. Okay. What's 2x times 2x?
2x times 2x is 4x squared.
Good job. Okay. What's positive 1 times negative 1?
Negative 1.
So that's the answer for 2.
It's a lot easier than I thought it was.
Yes. These are the easy ones. We actually dealt with the more complicated one first, as long as you're getting that middle thing. Okay, now let's do number 7. What's
Okay.
x squared?
X squared is x squared.
That's right. Miss Sparks keeps asking those trick questions today. All right, what's a positive 3y times a negative 3y?
Negative 3y squared.
Yes, but you got to square the 3 too.
Oh, negative 3 squared y squared. Is that
Yes.
correct?
So it would be negative 3 squared is 9y
All right.
squared. But you're right. The first step would be 3 squared y squared, and then you would move to that. So you're right. You're perfect. So your final answer would then look like this.
All right.
And just to distinguish that key difference, what if on number 5, just so I can show you this, both terms happen to be x plus 10. So in other words, it was this. That's when you have to have that middle term. When the middle operation is exactly the same, you're going to have a middle term. So you would have x squared, and then you would have double 10x, which would be 20x. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Plus 100, which is 10 squared. So when the operation in the middle is the same, you have a middle term. When the operation in the middle is opposite, the middle term goes away.
All right.
That's the key difference. And then that's pretty much the lesson. So now if you don't mind, I'm going to work on my Google Hangout with you. I'm going to end this one and try to do a new one.
All right.
Are you okay with that?
Uh-huh.
Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You're so good to play with me this morning.
I'm enjoying it.
And help an old lady out who's trying to land and threw me a curveball. All right. Well, here, I'm going to end this one and try again. I'll see you in a few, or talk to you in a few minutes.